for me is what I'm realizing is lacking. And so I choose at this point, while cultural diversity and inclusion and all of those things are super important to me at the core of me, it's just not where my focus needs to be at this time. My focus at this time needs to be on Black women and on Black mothers, and 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 solidifying community there. I think that we have. I think that we've gotten to a place. We've gotten to a place where Black women and mothers are still, we're not realized in our full humanity. We are not offered the we're not offered the respect and the dignity and the honor that is due to Black women collectively in this nation. Historically, for what Black women have contributed to the United States of America, historically, what 2020 has helped me realize is that people are still very much confused about that. And so I don't choose to create a space or curate a space that further diminishes the honor and the respect and the integrity in which Black women are seen, heard, felt, right? In our daily lives. I'm here for Black women. And that's what Intercultured with Anya Dula will be moving forward. And it's really not going to sound a whole lot different, because if you've paid attention, the few interviews that I did do were with Black women, and they're Black women from different spaces and places, and so it all falls in line with what Intercultured is. But yeah, I just wanted to make that distinction, and I wanted it to be clear because I know what I set out telling you all this podcast would be about, and I'm just not there anymore. That's kind of the simple explanation, and I don't really think I need to go that much further into it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it deeper next year. I didn't put a whole bunch of notes together for this section, but that has become, that more than anything has become more important to me, that I talk about what matters to Black women before I talk about what matters to anybody else. That I talk about what matters to Black mothers and their children and their families, and that we're learning, or, you know, whether it's learning or sharing or whatever we're doing in this space, that this is 100% safe space for Black women. I don't want to have to think about, I don't want to have to think about others and what may or may not affect. I don't know. None of that. And I'm not saying that, you mean, whatever. I have no control over who listens to this actually, right? So, you know, if you are not a Black woman and you enjoy the podcast, you're welcome. You're welcome to be here. You're welcome to listen. You're welcome to. But you should know that there's nothing here that is intending to edify you. Everything that's done here is for the edification and upliftment and to build safe community space for Black women at whatever cost. And that's that. We'll talk about it next year. So just know that that's what that's going to look like. Yeah. I think that's pretty much the wrap up. That's the meat. That's the meat and the potatoes. That's where we are at the end of 2020. All right, we are in our final segment, better known as What I Love About. And so I just want to talk about what I love about being a Black woman in this time, particularly in 2020, being a citizen of the United States of America, and what that, what Black women, what the world looks like what things look like for us as we move forward, as we move out of this year and into the next year. And if you're someone that has had to, through this pandemic, if you're someone who has been forced to reimagine what life looks like, or not even just reimagine, if you've had to recreate life like at the drop of a dime because of all of the changes that have taken place, Black women, we do those things in a way with as much grace, with so much grace, right? With so much grace, in a way that you just, a lot of times we don't see others do it, and less about whether others do it or how others do it, but speaking more to the fact that a lot of times, I want to tread a little bit lightly, because I want to make sure I'm not generalizing Black women, but again, historically, socially, politically, in the United States of America, Black women are the last. We're the last considered. We're the last to receive. And a lot of being the last is not because of, obviously, and I really hope that no one believes what I'm about to say, and if you do, hang out here for some time. But it certainly is not because of anything that we've done or who we are inherently, right? The way that we show up on this planet as human beings. All of that is constructed by the powers that be. But that even in being considered last most of the time, and in being deemed unworthy of receiving the things that others deem worthy, that we still make and shake and move in a way that is always going to bring out the best for us, right? I look at, listen, I've been talking about this time last year, this time last year, this time last year. This time last year, when I was doing all of that belly aching and groveling and trying to figure out how to continue on my course of creating my life on my terms without any money. And trying to figure out real quick, fast, how to fix that issue, right? like I said, I spent a lot of time preparing and strategizing and planning and and meditating, praying, the whole nine, right? I had to pull it all together. I had to pull every single tool that I have ever had out of my bag and use it to pull myself forward. But in all of that, during that time, this was a saying that just kept running in my mind, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I just assumed that it was, my ancestors or my spirit guide. But what the phrase that kept coming to me was 2020 is the year that y'all will learn to leave Black women alone. And that was that. I can tell you that was kind of like, at the time, it was probably out of a place of anger. Like, I was pissed. I was pissed off at everybody, okay? And that just kept playing, and I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know I had no clue where that was going or what it was doing. And truly, even at this moment, I don't even know like where it's going or what it's doing, because it still definitely plays. But what I'll tell you is, throughout 2020, time after time after time after time again, we have all seen in the news stories of Black women who are standing up, and they are speaking out, and they are saying out loud, you're not going to keep disregarding us. You are not going to keep disrespecting us. You are not going to keep walking by us without acknowledging us. You will work to keep our dignity intact. You will honor it. Right? So that's what I love about Black women, is that even in the midst of the worst and in receiving the worst, Black women will always stand up and pull together our collective power and say, this shit is enough. And I believe that's what we've seen happen in 2020. When we talk about just the fact that Kamala is going to be the next vice president of the United States, we already know that was us. That was Black women. That was Black women, and it wasn't even just about putting Kamala into a seat. As much as it was saying, we're done receiving less. We're done showing up every single time with our power, and you try to strip it, and you do everything that you can to take it away. You being whoever you need you to be. You being white supremacy, you being whiteness, you being white people, you being power structures, medical industrial complex, education industrial complex, prison industrial complex. Who else? This government trying to pass us a sad, pathetic little $600 after they've played and played and played and played with our lives from the very beginning of this pandemic. That Black women are saying, no more, no more. And you know what? We'll take all this shit over. You keep playing with us. And I mean that. And we mean that. And if that election hasn't shown you anything, y'all ought to be worried. Folks ought to be like, hold up, Screw. Wait, what happened? That's what people should be like, because we're not done. Because we're not done. And we're at a point now where 2020, if nothing else, has shown Black women collectively that everybody else while they're out there fighting for these power